Good day, children. Today in this video we are going to see Class 8 Unit 3 Prose. Sir Isaac Newton, the ingenious scientist. The author of this lesson is Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is the section 2. Already we have seen section 1 in the previous class. Isac's playmates were enchanted with his new windmill. Isac's friends, the play friends, they were enchanted, they were delighted with his new windmill, what he has made. They thought that nothing so pretty and so wonderful had ever been seen in the whole world. So the playmates, the little ones, they thought that this was the beautiful one, this was the fantastic and prettiest one, and they haven't seen a thing like this in the world. That is the context. But Isaac, said one of them, you have forgotten one thing that belongs to a mill. So one of his playmates, friends, is intervening and he is telling that, Isaac, you have forgotten something, man. What is it? Immediately Isaac asked, what is that? Asked Isaac. For he supposed that the roof of the mill to its foundation he had forgotten nothing. So some of his other friends are telling that, no, from the roof to the foundation he had forgotten nothing, man, nothing. Then immediately his friend is telling that, why? Where is the miller? Said his friend. So really he has forgotten the miller. Immediately Isaac is saying that, that is true. I must look out for one, said Isaac. So that is the simplicity of Isaac. Immediately he is admitting his fault and he is saying that yes, definitely I should look out for a person. And he set himself to consider how the deficiency should be supplied. How the lack or the shortage, it should be supplied, it should be done perfectly. He might easily have made the miniature figure of a man, but then it would not have been able to move about and perform the duties of a miller. It would be an easy thing for him to make a model of a person, a very small model of a person, but that is not going to do any good. It is not going to serve any good for the mill. So, keeping that in his mind, he is looking for a really a concerned person to look after that mill. But perhaps some two-legged millers are quite as dishonest as this small quadruped. So here something is missing. There is no continuity among these two sentences. He might easily have made the miniature figure of a man. Yes, it would be an easy thing for him to make a miniature figure, but then it would not have been able to move about. The miniature man, it will not move and perform the duties of a miller. And after that there is a huge gap, but perhaps Some two-legged millers are quite as dishonest as his small quadruped. In between something is missing, but I have checked the original thing there. The author Nathaniel Hawthorne is thinking that suppose Isaac Newton he might have known about the Lilliputs, he would have chosen one Lilliput and he would have appointed him as a miller. So when they were engaged in that type of conversation, that time there came a small rat. So Nathaniel Hawthorne is imagining that our Isaac Newton he would employ that rat as a miller. So that's why he is telling that perhaps some two-legged millers instead of a man, this quadruped, this what do you mean by quadruped? An animal having 4 feet. It would be a better thing, but he will not be an honest person. The quadruped, the rat, whenever the grain is served, what will happen? It will go and eat up some grain. So there won't be honesty there. That's why he is mentioning that as dishonest as his small quadruped. Isaac grew older. It was found that he had far more important matters in his mind than the manufacture of toys like the little windmill. So as Isaac grew like us, he did not have anything different. Instead, he had far more important matters in his mind than the manufacture of toys. When he was a small boy, he manufactured a small windmill, but he had plenty of matters in his mind to find, to invent a new thing. All day long, if left to himself, he was either absorbed in thought or engaged in some book of mathematics or natural philosophy. All day long, if left to himself, he was either absorbed, he was either choked up with thoughts. What type of thoughts? Or what type of books, or engaged in some book of mathematics. His inclination is towards mathematics or natural philosophy. At night, what he might have done probably, I think it probably he looked up with reverential curiosity to the stars. He's saying that he had that curiosity, reverential curiosity. What type of curiosity? That respect. What type of respect? A strong desire to know or learn something. He was looking at the stars and wondered whether they were worlds like our own, whether they are having a different world or like us, and how great the distance from the earth the stars are located. So he started thinking, and what was the power that kept them in their course? How these bodies are fixed in that position itself. So he had many questions and he started thinking. Perhaps even so early in life, Isaac Newton left a presentiment that he should be able hereafter to answer all these questions. So perhaps even so early in life, Isaac Newton left a presentiment, a feeling to evil to come, or intuitive a feeling about the future. So he had so much of thinking about the future, and he searched for many answers of all these questions. When Isaac was 14 years old, his mother's second husband being now dead, so his second father, our mother's second husband, he also died. She wished, who? Mother. His mother. His mother wished him leave school. Yes, she wanted him to leave school and assist her in managing the farm at Woolsthorpe. So she wanted to help her in farming. For a year or two, therefore, he tried to turn his attention to farming. So his attention from the studies, it changed to farming. But his mind was so bent on becoming a scholar. He wanted to become a scholar. He wanted to discover so many things in life. So his mother also, she found out his area of interest, and she sent this boy to study. That his mother sent him back to school and afterwards to the University of Cambridge. So later he was sent to university to learn. He was the first that found out the nature of light. So he was the first person to find out the nature of light, how the light is composed, what the light is composed of. He is the first one to find out. Before the day, nobody could tell what the sunshine was composed of until then. So what was the sunlight composed of? No one found out, but he was the first one to find all these answers. You remember, I suppose, the story of an apple's heavenly bodies in their courses. So when he was sitting under an apple tree, he found out the gravity. Why that apple is falling down, why it is not going up. So he started thinking like that, and at last he found out the gravity of the earth. When he had once got hold of this idea, he never permitted his mind to rest. He never allowed his mind to rest until he had reached out all the laws by which the planets are guided through the sky. So he found out all the laws by which the planets were orbiting in the sky. This he did as thoroughly as if he had gone up among the stars and tracked them in their orbits, as if he has gone to that particular place, as if he has gone to the stars and tracked them in their orbits. He wrote laws, he gave laws, and very nicely he explained things to the entire world. As a boy, he had found out the mechanism of a windmill, and as a man, he explained to his fellow men the mechanism of the universe. So that is the real growth. When he was a small boy, he found out the mechanism of small thing, but as a man, he could explain to his fellow men that the mechanism of the universe, the entire universe. While researching, he was accustomed to spend night after night in a loft tower, gazing at the heavenly bodies through a telescope. So he was familiar with what? To spend the night in a lofty tower, in a tall tower, or something that is high above the ground. He was standing on the tower and gazing and looking at the heavenly bodies like stars, moon, sky, earth, like that, through a telescope. His mind was lifted far above the things of this world. So his mind was not with the worldly things, it was far above the things of this world. He may be said, indeed, to have spent the greater part of his life in worlds that he thousands and millions of miles away. For where the thoughts and the heart are, there is our true existence. So he had a different thought. Where his thought and heart is together, that is our true existence. He was telling his friends. So his mind was fully occupied with the stars, with the heavenly bodies, and thousands and millions of miles away from the earth. And he is justifying his thing. Where his thought and heart is there, that is our true existence, he is telling. Newton lived to be a very old man, renowned thinker, and was made a member of parliament and received the honor of knighthood from the king. So he got several awards, several things from different people. He was considered as a very old man, and he was considered as a renowned thinker, and from the government he was honored as a member of the parliament and received the honor of knighthood from the king. So the king also he is honoring, but he cared little for earthly fame and honors. So he was not for the fame and honors of the world, of the earth, and felt no pride in the vastness of his knowledge. Even though he had plenty of knowledge, he was considered as a great thinker of all times. He did not have that pride. All that he learnt only made him feel how little he knew in comparison to what remained to be known. So he was very kind enough to accept. I knew only very little things. I want to know plenty of things, he was telling to the world. I seem to myself like a child, he observed. So he is telling that I am a very small child, playing on the seashore and picking up here and there a curious shell or a pretty pebble, while the boundless ocean of truth lies undiscovered before me. So I have got a boundless, limitless ocean of truth. He is telling ocean of truth, and I have to discover all the truth. I am a small child, like I am as if I am playing on a seashore and picking up there the curious shell and pebbles. So I want to discover more things. That much of curiosity he had to find new things. And at last, in 1727, when he was 85 years old, Sir Isaac Newton died. Or rather, he ceased to live on earth. He stopped to live on earth at the age of 85. We may be permitted to believe that he is still searching out the infinite wisdom and goodness of the creature as earnestly and with even more success than while his spirit animated a mortal body. His A spirit is searching for a mortal body. His spirit is still living, but it was animated in a dead that which is going to perish, the perishable body, mortal body. But the spirit is immortal. He has left a fame behind him. What is the fame? What is the thing he has left behind him? Which will be as endurable as if his name were written in letters of light. Endurable, bearable, or tolerable. He has left the fame behind him, which will be tolerable as if his name were written in letters of light formed by the stars upon the midnight sky. I love to hear about mechanical contrivances such as the water clock and the little windmill. So he is telling that I love to hear about the mechanical use or skill of something like the water clock and the little windmill, remarked George. So George is remarking, he is saying that George is a king. I suppose if Sir Isaac Newton had only thought of it, he might have found out the steam engine and railroads and all the other famous inventions that have come into use since his day. So Sir Isaac Newton, he found water clock and little windmill, and which paved him the way for finding the big things like steam engine, railroads, and other famous inventions of him. Very possibly he might replied Mr. Temple, and no doubt a great many people would think it more useful to manufacture steam engines than to search out the system of the universe. Other great astronomers besides Newton have been endowed with mechanical genius. The expert person in astronomy, they say that Newton have been endowed with mechanical genius. He was having all the mechanical genius. There was David Rittenhouse, an American. He made a perfect little watermill when he was only 7 or 8 years old. But this sort of ingenuity is but a mere trifle in comparison with the other talents of such men. So like that we have got plenty of men even in the history. So these things are very great things. We have seen the great talents of people like Sir Isaac Newton. Children, in your life also you should take things seriously, and you should discover plenty of things like Sir Isaac Newton. I wish you a very good year to come, and I wish you all to discover new things in this world like our Sir Isaac Newton. Children, I hope you might have understood everything well. Thank you, children. Have a good day. Bye bye.